connecting with 9 amazing geniuses. Well, as we head towards our last day of Navratri Tech Talks, which is very special as we have two amazing geniuses, and I'm sure you are going to gather a bundle of insights today. So, without further ado, I would like to welcome our first genius of the day, Anjali Jayaraman. Anjali Jayaraman is an 11-year-old study in grade 7. She loves horse riding and puppies. She is good at debating and enjoys coding. Her project was chosen for most innovative idea in Girls in AI competition. She wants to be either an entrepreneur or an investor in technology business when she grows up. So now I hand over the stage to our young genius of the day, Anjali Jayaraman. So the stage is all yours.
First of all, I would like to thank you all for the opportunity I've gotten to talk about this. So, you could be the next Warren Buffett, using technology to teach yourself financial literacy. Are you wondering what financial literacy is or why? Come on, we are still in school. Well, simply put, learning how to manage money is financial literacy. And about why now? Again, research shows that by age 3, children can understand basic money concepts, and by age 7, many of the habits that relate to financial behaviors later in life are already set. Now, let me ask you a quick question before we go into the topic. Do your parents let you talk about money, talk to you, or are you used to hearing that it's not a topic for kids? I will give 30 seconds for a show of hands.
You can also type your response in the chat bar, friends.
What?
The participants will typically type the response in the chat.
Okay, that's fine. Okay.
So we have got 2 responses as of now. Yeah, somebody has said, I do talk with my son regarding money. And we have another response says, we have economics and business studies as subjects in their school. That's great. So.
Okay, so disregarding this one, most parents are reluctant to talk about money, and this hampers efforts to get children learning about it. I got first introduced to the concept of money with a show called Secret Millionaires Club, a show based on Warren Buffett. From that day on, Warren Buffett is my idol. I even have a poster of him in my room. He has inspired me to become an entrepreneur or business investor one day. The earlier we kids start talking about and learning about money, the better equipped they are to manage as we get older. We kids are surrounded by technology. We are aware of a greater number of products, and we also want instant gratification and their awareness of a greater number of products. We want this I got syndrome. We need to understand that money doesn't grow on trees. We need to teach ourselves financial literacy. So how do we go about doing that? First, let's understand the basic concepts. The word money has got lots of different names. Can you think of some names? I'll give 30 seconds to do that. Okay. all great answers. Some of them are called dollars, bucks, dough, dinero, etc. And it comes in many different shapes and forms. But money has been used all over the world for thousands of years to buy things, build things, and to change lives. Okay, so what do you think when you think of money? What do you think? 30 seconds to type. Okay, so all that, piles of gold, living a life of luxury, etc. Money can make all that happen, but first we need to understand how it works, how to get it, and what to do with it when you do get it. You may be thinking, I'm not yet earning any money, so why bother? That may seem so far away, but developing good money habits and most of all, knowing what to do when things are not going too well will help you set off on the right track. Now, unless you've got a magic lamp somewhere, you will have a limited amount of money and you need to decide what to do with it. That means prioritizing and making choices. For those who don't know, prioritizing means listing things from super important to meh, not really that important after all. But these are the two things humans are terrible at. But if we do a bit of thinking instead of rushing into things, we can make good choices. What choices? Every single time you get a hold of some money, you can choose to spend it, save it, or grow it. And these choices are what is called managing your money. People go through financial difficulties. There are so many things out of our control, like COVID-19. No one predicted that people would lose their earnings because they could not go to work. And people's fortunes can change dramatically. But by learning how to best spend your money, you can by learning to know how best to manage your money, you can be prepared as much as possible and hopefully come out of the difficult situations. And if you do end up in trouble, you can come up with a plan to deal with it. How to spend? Spending does not mean splashing. Spending is about making choices. With limited money, you need to decide where to spend it, as well as how much of it to spend and how much to it to save or grow. When it comes to spending, if you spend money on one thing, you can't spend money on something else. Know your needs from your wants. Watch out for tricky advertising trying to turn your wants into needs. Example, video games. Budget. Allocate your money and try to figure out how much you want to spend and on what. Avoid impulse buys. Do your homework and compare prices and products before buying. How to save? Saving should go into a bank account. It is safer and helps you keep track of what you have got and get paid interest. Always put aside some money for emergencies. How to grow? Investing your money can get an even higher rate of return than just saving it. There are lots of different ways to invest, including stocks, bonds, certificates of deposits, etc. I don't know too much about it, but I have read about them. You need to understand, you need to know what you're investing in. If something is too tricky to understand, then probably best to steer clear of it. If all that sounded too theoretical, let me show you the fun part and how I learned about the stuff. Yes, gamification for motivation. Technology provides an important way to motivate us kids to want to learn about money, gamification. By making their interactions with the finances fun, we kids are more likely to retain what we are learning and come back for more. So this is the IBM Skills Build website where you can find all. It's a free sign up. I'll just show it to you. I'm going to pick up one or two of my favorite games from this and do a demonstration. Moving on to the next one. I will move on to the next one. What do you think it will be? This one's first, this one's second, this one third. But which one do you think is the most profit?
Anjali, the term length is not seen. It's getting blocked.
Okay.
Only the
Well,
interest
for
is seen.
all of them is 48 months, just letting you
Okay,
know that.
okay, sure.
Can you see it now though?
Now it is clear. Yes.
Yeah, okay. Okay, two people have answered, one answered second, one answered first. So the answer is second. You get a reward for every few turns. Now you get this. So here's a tip. Always go with the one that has the most term length, even if it's the least amount of monthly payment. Oh. Well, most of the time that's right. Ooh. and also go for the adjustable one so you can keep increasing the level of money. Okay, that's it for now. Okay, so hope you guys liked my talk and enjoyed the games I showed. Thank you.
So now participants, you could start using the chat box to post your questions. I think the gamification was more of an interactive show. So I could actually come out with a couple of questions. It was a great show, Anjali.
Thanks. Because in general, I also get very bored when it comes to the theory part of money. So putting it into games is a lot more fun. And
That's
by
right.
the way, the third one, it's a tip what not to do, not what to do, because that's illegal actually.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I have one question, Anjali. I think.
Yes.
Yes. So I was just impressed by at this age of 11. So how did you get to actually come out with the financial part of it? Like, for example, you have to actually first of all have a thought about what are these finances, money, and a lot of things. In fact, even after getting into a proper job, even I am still struggling to safeguard all my hard-earned earnings and other things. So how did you, from where did you get this inspiration to start off with all this finance and other investment kind of? Probably you can start with, I think you had mentioned about Warren Buffett. So if you could actually talk a little more about how did you get pick this hobby or this interest in finance?
Yeah,
It would be
well,
great,
he had a show named Secret Millionaires Club. So I watched that. My mother found it for me since I was naturally inclined to money. I would just like hold 1 rupee and be like, yes, I won the lottery every time. So she just found out the show for me. And yeah, that's why I really started to like Warren Buffett.
Fantastic, fantastic. Yeah. I guess we have one question. What
I'll
is the
also
name?
send the links to the games.
Sure, yes. And how did you find out all about this? Like it said, playmoneymagic.com or buildyourstacks.com. How did you find out all these links?
Yeah, so I've done some things in IBM courses. Like my mother's been putting me in quantum computing. So I just randomly searched in it money games and an entire list popped up. I tried the games and I really liked them.
Very nice. Yeah.
Is that all?
Is there any other questions, participants?
just wait for a minute or two.
Sure.
More questions can pop up. Just wait. Meanwhile, Anjali, if there is any other interesting things that you want to share, please feel free. Go ahead.
Not really. I just shared all that I knew about money.
Sure.
Oh, I found
We have one question from Pihu. Pihu is asking, what is the ideal age one should start investing? In fact, I also had this in my back of my mind.
Yeah, so, well, it depends when you get introduced to the concept of money, but I feel like as a teenager, you can start investing in like small stocks.
Probably to just add in with Anjali, probably we can start with a small piggy bank. So in those in our times, probably my father used to buy a piggy bank, which it would be made of an earthen pot. So we just need to used to have those coins, and finally when it fills the brim, you just need to break open to take the coins from it.
Personally, I feel like that's not very practical.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, well, I had a piggy bank that had a hole at the top where you could just open it like a latch, and then you could just take the money out and put it back in.
Very nice. So when we talk about investing, do you start only with money, or should we start with probably stocks, or any other equity mode, or something else like gold, buying gold, or what would you actually recommend or advise us?
That is up to you. That is all up to you. If someone asked me a question, do these games need real account? What I got it was from a website called IBM Courses, and it was like P-Tech You're Learning. So I think you need maybe one account or something to play, but otherwise I think you can try it out. Because personally, I had to log in.
So Anjali, this is Shankar here. I have a question for you. This is what is your motivation for investing and making a profit? What do you want to really do with that money?
Well, I just want to have the feeling that I can become a millionaire and be like Warren Buffett. I hope to meet him actually.
Sure. So what does Warren Buffett do with all the money that he has?
Well, I think he gives it to like charities and stuff and teaches other children about money. So they don't get like attacked by the loan sharks.
The shady Sams. Yeah, sure.
So we have another question from Pihu again. Are there any competitions we can participate in for financial literacy?
I haven't actually looked into that yet. That's actually a good point. I should actually look into that. I haven't tried it out before. Like I haven't checked whether there are any competitions because I don't like losing. So that's an issue. But otherwise, I will look into that.
Prem, I don't see any more questions popping up. Maybe this is.
Yes, sure. Yes.
Is that all?
In real account, I think this question
I answered it. I
you
said,
answered this. Yeah.
yeah, I said you can look into it, but I personally had to sign it, but I don't think you need to sign it because I gave you the link. Yeah, I don't think you need a thing. I don't think you need an account since I gave you the link.
I think we just got to explore the links you had provided. So this would help us with more insights on what else we could do with the links.
I think it's a great session, Anjali. We learned a lot,
Thank
and it
you.
was very interactive and very insightful also. The right combination. And I
Thank
wish
you.
I had this knowledge before I went for my home loan. Now it's too late, but this was really, really helpful. Really good.
Thank you.
Great session, Anjali. Yeah, it was very insightful, and in fact, I like the gamification part. I never thought there is also a game where we could it would actually interact with us to probably help us invest and give us some kind of directions about it. Like I spoke about mortgage and other loans. How do you invest and other things? So definitely have a thumbs up for you to introduce these tools today in your talk.
Thank you.
So I will hand it over to Prasiddhi to formally thank you for this excellent talk. Over to you, Prasiddhi.
Thank you so much. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts on finance, as it is a very important aspect. So I'm very happy you brought this point forward. And what an amazing learning we got, from piggy banks to how we can start investing in stock market. And how now, if we start with our journey of gay financial games and other things, we'll be able to achieve that. So thank you so much for sharing these amazing insights. And now, moving forward toward our next session by an amazing young innovator, Smriti Hegde. Smriti Hegde cleared Smriti is a 14-year-old currently living in Bangalore who has cleared amateur radio station operators certificate exam conducted by YPC during January 2020. Possesses an amateur wireless station license issued during October 2020. Conducted hands on special occasions and played in KSCA Under 12 Women's League tournament. Wow. Now I invite our amazing young innovator and amazing young genius, Smriti Hegde. The stage is all yours.
Thank you so much. I will share my screen. Give me a minute, please. Good evening to everyone. I thank you all for being present here today. I am Smriti Hegde. I will be talking about a century-old STEM hobby spread world over, but not too well known, which is why I am here to educate you all. First, let us trace back to the origins of ham radio, that is, the wireless communication which first came into existence in the 1890s thanks to Italian inventor Guglielmo Marconi. The world first came to know the usefulness of wireless when the Titanic ship sank. Due to the aid of wireless communication from the Titanic's Marconi shack, over 700 people were saved by the SOS message sent by the ship, which was picked up by neighboring ships who came to their aid. Back then, there were various distress signals used by ships and planes alike. SOS, which roughly meant save our souls or save our ship, having been used more by ships, was the most common one, followed by CQD, General Call Disaster, which most people translated to Come Quick Disaster, was another distress signal which was used back then. Besides these, here comes the significance of our title, was the most common one. Sorry. Here comes the significance of the title, was another distress call used since the First World War, the famous Mayday of Aviators, which was devised by Frederick Stanley Mockford. However, without amateur radio, distress calls and signals could not be used effectively. There are many instances where hams help with disaster management in times when communication was cut off due to there being no internet or cellular connectivity whatsoever. However, being able to aid in times of need is not the only thing you can do as a ham. By the beginning of the 20th century, having evolved, amateur radio was taken up by private citizens in various countries who took licenses, self-learned, and assembled their own antennas, receivers, transmitters, and used this equipment to perform successful two-way communications. They were the very first hams. I would describe hams as the people who use radio frequency spectrum for purposes of non-commercial exchange of messages, wireless experimentation, self-training, private recreation, and radio sport. You can do a lot with the help of amateur radio without an internet connection or cellular connectivity, as seen in the first image, where a router cannot be mounted, nor are there any telephone towers, poles, or wires. This man is sitting on a small piece of land in the middle of the sea almost and making QSOs through his shack, which consists of a transceiver which can transmit and receive signals and an antenna which helps with receiving signals. The term de-expedition used here means that the person is taking an expedition to a certain place where he can maximize his contacts or the contacts made. With HF radio and the right equipment as well as qualification, you can make DX or long distance contacts with ham radio as seen in the second image, which shows various contacts made outside of our country. To many hams, the hobby is all about independent communication and self-reliance. What we commonly use our radios for are checking into nets, which are on-the-air gatherings of hams moderated by a station who is named the net controller, and making on-air QSOs. The ham lingo is quite simple and uses combinations of letters and numbers. For example, while listening to a net, you will notice the operators using terms like 73s, 59, QRU, WX, QTH, or sometimes seemingly random words like Juliet or maybe Alpha. These words signify certain things and make it easy to understand on air. Words like QSO, QRU, and QTH signify a phrase, For example, QSO is an on-air contact. QRU is used to say no more traffic or I have nothing more to say. QTH for base station location. QRM for background noise or static. This means they aren't acronyms, but a sort of code. Just like the phonetic alphabet, which is commonly used on air to make it easier to understand a call sign or word. Since there is naturally some noise in a transmission, using the phonetic alphabet makes every letter and word clear, as sometimes D can sound like C or E, but if I say delta, it is easier to understand as delta does not start with a C or E. Similarly, words like OM, which stands for old man, and young lady, and YL, which stands for young lady, are used to address people on air when not using their handle or name. Now we will listen to this sample radio communication video. Focus on what is being said carefully.
Percy, we are not able to hear the audio. I guess, are you sharing your audio as well?
1 minute. Now?
Yes, please go ahead. Now it's clear.
CQ. This is Bravo Victor 3 Uniform Hotel. Bravo Victor 3 Uniform Hotel. Calling CQDX and sending by.
You will notice the use of the terms I mentioned and the phonetic alphabet. Knowing the ham lingo is the first step to start talking on air. After mastering the phonetic alphabet, being on air becomes easy as you can communicate and understand quickly, making responses and queries swift and fluent.
CQ.
Most people start off as a shortwave listener or SWL, like I did, listening to amateur radio bands, getting to know the ham lingo, and much more. Keeping pace with all, as well as keeping pace with all the latest news in the world of amateur radio. A shortwave listener, an SWL, needs no license, passes no test, and goes about amateur radio as he pleases. This usually awakens an interest towards the hobby, accumulating information, getting to know the hobby, and procuring receiving equipment are all you need to do to start and make your way to being an operator with a license. As an SWL, I was incompetent as first expected, but with my father's help, managed to grasp the nuances of the hobby. Listening to nets and exchange QSOs, as well as watching my father operate his equipment and manage them, helped me see what I was what I was what I was needed to do to become an amateur radio operator. After receiving my license, I began to slowly check into nets and make QSOs. Later, I also became net controller for a couple of nets. My first radio export experience, a fox hunt conducted by the IIH, was also quite fun. The other images on the screen, titled QSL cards, are cards which are written confirmation of two-way contacts between stations, proving the contact, or otherwise a sort of memoir. Starting off at a young age has its benefits, since you have more time to learn and time to spend on the hobby, without worrying about cramped schedules. Then again, anyone can be a ham if they meet the requirements. Passing the exam is harder than it seems, but with some amount of effort, it is doable. The exam you need to pass to get on air and receive a license and a call sign is the Amateur Station Operator Certificate or ASOC examination. Of restricted grade, one of the two grades you can apply for, but to apply for the second general grade, the requirements are higher, including being able to use Morse code fluently. My call sign is for restricted grade VU3FNV with the VU3 prefix, if you can make out from the license on screen. The prefix for general grade is VU2. For the restricted grade, you need to apply to write the exam. The syllabus of the exam consists of basic electronics and communication procedure, and the exam is of objective or MCQ type. The paper consists of two sections, A, basic electronics, and B, radio rules and regulations. You can take a quick look at the sample paper snaps on screen. A few weeks of good training makes you eligible for the examination. Joining local clubs who organize classes might be helpful as well. Self-study is also useful. Doing both makes it much easier to learn and master the concepts. Being an SWL is also an important part of this, as you can listen to QSOs and nets live, as well as learn how to use your receiving equipment, tune your radio, and so on, which is the start on the way to obtaining a full transmitting license. Even though you cannot transmit as an SWL, observing is also very important and can be extremely helpful when learning something you have never done before. There are also many events which SWLs can attend and observe, which I did many times accompanying my father. You too can start, like I did, by joining a ham radio club. By mingling with fellow hams, you can share your knowledge or learn more about a certain topic from a knowledgeable person or share your own knowledge. Before I knew about the subject, I visited the Indian Institute of Hams, met Dr. Satyapal sir. That was the first time I had met any other hams. That meet was the first time I had met any other hams in person other than my father. That meeting also inspired me to become an amateur radio operator. Since then, I have come a long way with the help of my many Elmers and family. Finding an Elmer or mentor can also be very helpful. I would like to thank a few of them, V3 Juliet Yankee Tango or JYT, Rajan sir, with whom I've exchanged many QSOs and check-ins, as well as someone I can consider a role model. Then I would also like to thank Dr. Satyapal sir, who introduced me to the world of amateur radio and helped me come till where I am. I would also like to thank Marcus sir, VU2 VTM, whose lectures and interactive classes helped me a lot when I had to study for the ASOC examination. I would also like to thank IIH collectively for the opportunity to become a ham at a young age. Other than joining nets and making QSOs, there are many interesting things you can do as an amateur radio operator. You can receive SSTV images and talk to astronauts as seen on the images on screen, SSTV or slow scan television is a picture transmission method used mainly to transmit and receive static images through radio in monochrome or color. Since SSTV systems work on frequencies UHF, VHF, and HF bands can be used to transmit these images. There are free apps which can decode these. Upon reception, you can see an image. Another thing you can do is home brewing or making and testing non-commercial equipment made by you, like antennas or transceivers. Long before factory-built gear was available, this was quite common. Homebrewing is also fun, as experimenting with the equipment to test its limits and capacity can be quite an interesting process. You could also participate in homebrew contests or simply use it in your shack. Since it is made by you, you can modify it to your needs or likes. This also improves your technical skills and, of course, gives you a sense of accomplishment. Learning the Morse code can also be helpful, as you can use it to communicate and it might come in handy in case of emergencies. Since we have discussed the various aspects of amateur radio, let us now watch the recording of a short QSO between two stations to understand how it works. Pay more attention to the audio, which has more significance. V3 JYT, V3 JYT, V3 Foxtrot November Victor calling.
Roger, VU3 Foxtrot November Victor. This is VU3 Juliet Yankee Tango, VU3 JYT. Good morning, Shruti. VU3 Foxtrot November, YL station. How copy? copy, Stuti. This is V3 Javati returning. QSL over.
QSL VU3 Juliet Yankee Tango, VU3 Foxtrot November Victor returning. Very good morning, Rajan. You are coming 5-9. WX here at LV Shastri Nagar is partially cloudy. 28.1 degree Charlie, 75% humidity. 23 is have a great day ahead and catch you down the log. V3 Juliet Yankee Tango, V3 Foxtrot November Victor.
Roger, V3 Foxtrot November Victor. This is V3 Javati Rajan returning. Yes, good morning again, Smriti. Here is 24 degree Charlie, so overcast sky. However, it is humid now, very warm and sultry, I should say, and relative humidity is 87%, and AQI is very, very moderate. It is around 52 today. I am also getting a signal full scale, that is 5.9 clean audio without any crackling noise or QRM. Without any QRM, I am copying you very well nice. How do you copy me, Smriti? VU3 Foxtrot November Victor, VU3 Javati, over.
V3 Juliet Yankee Tango, V3 Foxtrot November Victor returning. You are coming 5-9 here, full scale, no QRM, QSL.
Roger, Smriti, happy to have a QSL, nice QSL with you. Convey my regards to your fundamental VU3 uniform Zulu Delta, Sham there, Walnut Sham. Also convey my regards to your family also. This is VU3 Javati, VU3 Foxtrot November Victor. This is VU3 Javati, over.
Thank you, Rajan sir. Catch you down the log. 73s.
Roger, QSL, VU3 Foxtrot November Victor, VU3 Javati returning. Catch you again. 73s, bye, and have a nice day today. QRU.
You will see the use of this ham lingo I mentioned earlier, as well as how a full QSO actually sounds like. V3J. Thank you all for patiently listening to me. I hope you now have some knowledge on the subject and consider becoming a ham radio operator yourself, now that you know about it and how accessible as well as beneficial it really is.
Yeah, thank you, Smriti. Now, participants, I think we have also had a live QSO, probably a record QSO. If you, I think you could wait for some time to gather your questions and then we can have an interactive session. So Mayank says, could you send the links of both the videos? Do you have the links of the videos, Smriti?
No, I don't have the links. They are saved on my device actually.
Okay, fine. Okay, Pihu has a question. I have a question. Is it necessary to be good at certain subjects to be able to be a radio operator?
Not necessarily. You should be able to speak fluently, but a knowledge of basic electronics is required. Other than that, you don't really have to be good at anything.
So just adding on to Pihu's question. So you had mentioned about radio, I think electronics as part A and radio, probably the radio propagation as a section B. So how did you, at this age, how did you get to read all these things? Because it's going to be enormous amount of information for you in terms of electronics. You should be talking about, I could see something on LC circuit and other things on your section, on your syllabus which you had projected. So how did you get to learn all these things at this young age? If you could actually throw some light on it, it would be great.
What made it easier was the study material provided and the live classes, not live, in-person classes hosted at the Indian Institute of Hams, where Marcus sir, VU2 VTM, gave us lectures on the subject. And you could learn even not knowing even the basics of electronics. And I had some help from my father who knows quite a bit on this electronics.
Fantastic, Smriti. So there is one more question from my end. He's asking, where can we get all the information to become a ham? I think if you could actually provide that link which you had mentioned in your PPT, your presentation, it would be great. Probably if you could pass it on to the chat box, it would be great. I think most of the information could be we could get it from the Indian hams.
Yeah, I've put the link in the chat
Yeah.
box
Great. Yeah. Fantastic.
for reference.
Sure. Yeah. So one more question. It says, do I need to learn Morse code? What is the maximum distance we could communicate, probably using 2 ham stations?
Morse code is only required if you want to apply for a general grade license. Otherwise, you don't need to know the Morse code, though learning it is obviously good for you. You don't really need to know it, but unless you're applying for the general grade license.
And the second part of the question also says, what is the maximum distance you could communicate using ham radio?
It depends on what frequency bands you're using. There are 3 frequency bands: UHF, VHF, and HF. UHF, which covers minimum distance, VHF, not as much, but in between, and HF, with which you can communicate even worldwide. So it depends on your equipment as well, if it can receive or transmit to longer distances.
Okay. Okay. So couple of more questions. How much does it cost to homebrew a system? Have you homebrewed anything in part of your Radio Shack?
Yeah, I did homebrew a directional antenna. Other than the wires, the base was just PVC pipes and measuring tape. So it was like not too expensive, but it depends on what equipment you want or what parts you will be purchasing.
So I could I think since I'm also part of the hobby, you could actually, rather than buying everything new or from the market or from the shelf, you can always recycle things as Smriti mentioned, using a tape measure, a normal measuring tape. Make it using an antenna. You can make it use to make an antenna from it. Okay, so yeah, and another question from Pihu. Can you share an experience which was very memorable for you in your ham journey?
I think that would be the fox hunt, the ARDA fox hunt conducted by the IIH. I learned quite a bit, and tracking the signal was harder than I thought it would be. But along with our team, it was, yes, definitely more memorable than anything else I've done. Yeah.
So since you have mentioned about this fox hunt, if you could actually brief a bit more on what is this fox hunt, why should it you, what do you mean by this fox hunt to us so that we'll be able to appreciate the sport, ham sport as well.
So the fox hunt is a radio sport which requires you to track a fox or the person who will be transmitting a signal, which you need to track with directional antennas. Tracking down the fox is the objective of the sport.
Okay, so as you mentioned about the fox hunt, so there is a fox. So in your the sport which you had attended, you had mentioned about it. So where did you find the fox? Was it nearby to your place, or was it like you had to really go through different areas to find the fox? Probably
Yes,
directional finding. And
it was conducted on quite a large scale. So the fox was around 20 kilometers away from where we originally started. We managed to go the wrong way, but it was still memorable, as you know, we had fun.
Okay, great. Couple of more questions. Can we do internet surfing using ham system?
No, ham radio does not use internet or cellular connectivity, so no.
So, I have another question, since somebody mentioned about internet. So how do you actually communicate? You had posted you had shown a couple of images on some images received from the space station. How do you do that? Or is it actually from the RF waves? Is it through radio frequency, or is there anything else you have from in between your station and your space station? do you get the images on your on the radio or using the radio frequency, or do you have any other internet connection or Wi-Fi connection in between?
My knowledge on SSTV is like not that much. So
Okay, fine. Okay, no problem. So does the radio have all UHF, VHF, and HF? One more question.
the ham bands, it depends. If you have a multi-band transceiver, then yes, it might have VHF and UHF. Or maybe you have separate UHF, VHF, and HF radios.
Okay, so the communication which you had with probably VU3 JYT, the last slide which you mentioned, was it part of this UHF, VHF, and HF? Which propagation were you using for that?
In that QSO, we were using a VHF band
Okay.
of VHF frequency.
And one question from my end on this license. So when you get your license, is it like you have to renew it quite frequently, or is it like once you get your license, it probably is valid for a longer lifetime, or probably 10 years, 20 years? Do you have a fixed period for that, or?
Yes, you have to renew your license. It depends on how much you paid at first. You can get it for lifetime. You will have to pay more, but it stays for longer. Or you can renew it every 10 to 20 years.
Okay. So do you have any plans to probably upgrade your license from VU3 category to VU2?
Yes, definitely. I do want to increase my skill level and learn the Morse code.
That's great. Fantastic. So Rich has a question for you. He is asking, with advent of internet, easily available and versatile, does ham lost its sheen?
I would say no, because ham radio and internet are two different things. And using a ham radio, communicating with different hams is actually thrilling, a different experience than surfing the internet.
So apart from, okay, so we have more questions. Can you send the link to join a ham group? I think she has already sent. I'll share it across again.
Yeah, I've put it in the chat box again.
Yeah, great. Thank you. Tell us a bit about your other interest, cricket. So Shankar has a question for you. About your hobby on cricket. I think you are part of under 12 in KSEA.
Yeah, that was a while back, but yeah, I'm trying to get better. Unfortunately, the weather here is like bad, so I haven't been going for a while, but of course I will catch up.
So Dr. Shankar also has another question for you. What are your other hobbies apart from this ham radio stuff? What
Other than ham radio, I enjoy playing cricket and reading science fiction books. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, there's one more question. How much time do you devote for ham?
In a day, unless there's a competition or net controlling, it's about like 15 minutes counting all the net check-ins, because there's school and then there's cricket. And then again, being able to net control would be nice, but I have to study, and so I end up like spending 15 minutes, 30 minutes max on ham radio.
That's nice.
Smriti, Shankar here. I have another question. During certain natural calamities time, the power and the internet could be down. But is there a way to still use the ham? Is it possible?
Yes, definitely, which is why we can help with disaster communication when there is no cellular connectivity, like telephone towers are down, there's no electricity for routers to function. Then you can use ham radio because you could use a handy, which does not require a battery, like doesn't have to be plugged into a power source. You can keep it charged, or you could have your radio plugged into your car battery and still use it.
And you mentioned about the Titanic, but in more recent times have been instances where ham was very helpful and helped to address a difficult situation. Any such examples that you can share?
In India, many times during floods, many hams have helped out. Then, yeah, during COVID-19, the IIH
Hmm.
team had
What happened during COVID time? How was it used?
to monitor the activity in certain areas.
I
I
see.
heard about it, yes. Yeah.
Okay. During wartime, will there be any restrictions on ham usage?
Walk time?
War.
No, I don't think so. I mean, it'll obviously be used to benefit its side. It depends on who is using it and from where.
Correct. So there is no minimum age criteria to start ham. There is no such minimum age.
There is 12 is the minimum age where you can
I
start.
see.
So, I have one query for you, Smriti. So, how do you know how many contacts you would have made since you were licensed? How many contacts were you able to make on the review? A rough
I
approximate.
didn't, I don't really count, but maybe like 300, maybe different stations.
So each time when you talk to a station, what do you do? Do you make a note of it somewhere, or should we? Do you have a protocol to make a note of it, or
Yeah, I should maintain a logbook, but I've only logged contacts when I was net controlling or in a competition. Otherwise, while checking internets, I wouldn't log it.
so? What are the
Since
other? Yes, please go ahead.
since the net controllers are sometimes regular.
Okay. So what are the different parameters do you log in terms of when you make contact with the station?
When I make contact with a station, I log their call sign, their signal report, the frequency I was on, and their grid location, as well as, yeah, their grid location.
So one information from Bridge to all of us. He says we have one more avid ham operator in Mahindra and Mahindra who worked during Bhuj earthquake times. So something interesting. So I think this question is getting repeated. Somebody is asking, where can I learn this language? So if you could actually explain a little bit on what is it your question is all about. What language are you like? Is it Morse code or
Phonetics.
phonetics? Okay.
Is it that?
Is it that or probably the Morse code? Probably if it is Morse code, I think you will have to. It has to be done by practice. But have you tried decoding and encoding Morse code, Smriti? Have you tried it before or?
No, not really, since I am not at such a high level yet, but plan to get there, yes.
Okay, good. Okay, Radhika asked a question. She's asking, does it instill any discipline in you as a person?
Maybe waking up early to check internet, staying active as a ham. I don't know if that counts as discipline, but I definitely think that when you maintain a schedule, it is discipline.
So adding a few more questions to Radhika. Basically, how do you benefit out of this hobby, the Sam Radio hobby? So apart from talking and other things, what else do you think we could benefit as a skill or something, learning a skill, kind of? Since you mentioned about home brewing, building some kits and electronics, how do you think this could actually benefit probably the children of the future generation?
How home brewing could benefit us?
Yes.
So I guess when you assemble your own equipment, you have a better understanding of how it works, what you've done, and you can modify it to whatever you need it to be or how it needs to be. And there's a lot you can learn. It improves your technical skills, motor skills.
Since you had mentioned about building of the tape measure antenna for your Fox and ARDF radio sport, probably it would actually improve your STEM skills, your engineering skills, basically. Probably. So one more question. It says, is there any app in Play Store for this? Is ham radio and is it an application, an Android application, or do we really have to purchase or establish a station, a physical station?
There are digital hams who use applications like Echolink or Hamsphere. For Echolink, you need to have a license, which means you are a licensed ham. So you can't really say there's an app for ham radio as a hobby, but there is an app which you can use to communicate to other people. You can use Echolink to communicate from any country around the world without having any heavy duty equipment or big antennas.
So since you mentioned about antennas, or do you have an antenna set up in your home? So since you mentioned, you showed your the radio broadcasting station set up at home. Do you really have an antenna in your terrace, or how do you?
Yes, we have a collinear dipole antenna for our HF and a normal antenna for VHF.
So one more interesting question. At a time when gaming and watching Netflix is a trend, what makes you focus on ham radio?
That would be my parents and my father, who kept, encouraging me to check into nets or join in on some session, maybe listen into something, some QSOs. Yeah, so my parents usually. And like making contacts with other people is also nice. You can meet different people, listen to different people talking, and keep learning more day by day.
Smriti, what is the influence of weather? Typically, what is the best weather for operating ham?
Other than thunderstorms, you can operate like anytime, any weather. Because thunderstorms, lightning striking your equipment could be a problem. Other than that, no, there's no weather requirement. Your antenna can be set in flats because you don't need a large antenna always. A small one will do the same, maybe not as much, but the basics, making contacts with people in maybe a 20-kilometer radius. Even a small antenna should be able to do that quite efficiently. To prevent lightning from striking antennas, it's better to just shut off your system because otherwise it can't cause any damage. Turning off the power wouldn't let your transceiver be damaged.
One interesting question. What's something interesting that you have observed in other ham operators? I repeat, what's something? Yeah.
Maybe their ability to be consistent and regular to what they do, even though you can get distracted by a lot of things. And of course, their passion and love for the hobby, as well as their fluent communication skills. And yeah.
Okay, Smriti, thank you very much. I think we could start with the quiz next. I think we have a quiz next. So thank you so much, Smriti, for your time, for coming up here to share your hobby. And we were able to exchange a lot of things probably over the air and RF radio frequency. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks a lot, Smriti. This is a whole new world that you have opened for us because we have heard of the word ham, but we didn't know much beyond that. And you are able to really give us a very good idea of what it is all about. Also tell us how we could get started on that. So this was something really very good. Thanks a ton. Thank you so much.
Thank you all for having me and giving me this opportunity to speak and reach out to many people. Thank you.
I think really appreciate. Over to you, Prasiddhi.
What an amazing and unique field of ham radio, Smriti. Alphabet phonetics and process to be a certified amateur radio operator. I really enjoyed today's session and got to learn about a very different world of ham radios and amateur radios. And I'm so happy that we were able to get in touch with different aspects like finance, amateur radio, and got a different perspective. Thank you so much, Dr. Shankar, for giving us this platform to connect and share our skills with everyone. Thank you so much, Mr. Prem Sundar, for moderating today's session. And thank you so much to two young geniuses, Smriti and Anjali, for sharing your amazing and very splendid thoughts today, which really inspired all of us to take up new skills. Thank you so much. And now I request Dr. Shankar to share his thoughts about the entire session. Before I I take the session forward towards the quiz.
Sure, Prasiddhi. I think this has been the best Navratri that we have had so far, because every single day we had a speaker who's really excelled in their chosen field and who could come share their experience, be it mathematics or coding or finance or ham, whatever it be. These are very young innovators who identified their passion so early on and who could put all the effort that is needed to excel in their fields. And it was so motivating to see these young innovators come in every day at 6 p.m. and share what they are so passionate about, and a wide variety of topics. And everything was so much of information packed in that short half an hour talk. And it was also interactive with so many videos and games and amazing. I think there is so much of potential out there amongst these young innovators that when as a country, when we are aspiring to get into the top 25 in global innovation index, I think I'm very confident we can do that with all these young innovators pursuing their passion. I think this is a great forum, and this has been the best Navratri that we have had so far. So personally, I want to thank every speaker and thank the audience. I know some of these people have been there consistently every single day, and it's great that participation has been excellent. And most importantly, I want to thank you, Prasiddhi, for really conceiving this, designing this, and doing it with so much of energy and enthusiasm day after day. So great. Thanks a ton. Thank you, everybody.
You're welcome. Thank you so much, Dr. Shankar, for sharing your kind words. And it was very true that though it was just a half an hour, we always gathered a new learning. And day by every day, when we connected with new speakers and geniuses, we got new learnings. And just to see that were you able to capture those learnings, I'm going to share a link in the chat, which is the link of the quiz. So you can either fill it now or else you can fill it post the session. So that is the quiz link. It will be a Google form. Give me a minute. I hope you found the link in the chat box. So you can fill the quiz, and the entire Prasiddhi Forest Foundation is really excited to know about who is going to get this amazing G3 Eco Kit exclusively designed for you. And so I hope you all gathered new learnings and insights, and I hope you use them in your lifestyles and implement them. Because our main motive of celebrating this Navratri with new insights every day was so that you guys can learn something new and implement it in your lifestyles. So I hope you all got inspired to become a young innovator or an impact creator. And now, to conclude with our amazing Navratri Tech Talks with 11 spectacular yet splendid geniuses, I request all of you to on your cameras to save this golden memory by taking a screenshot. So we can say G3 and do a thumbs up. 1, 2, 3. G3. Just a second, 1 second. 1, 2, 3. G3. Amazing. And I'd like to share one small note that We'll be releasing the results of the quiz next week, as we are doing this offline because many of the participants could not join us today in the session. So we'll be sharing it with them. So next week on Instagram, we'll be on Instagram of Prasidhi Forest, we'll be releasing the results. And latest by tomorrow morning, I request all of you to fill the form, or else the form will be closed. Thank you so much. And I hope you all enjoyed this Navratri Tech Talks. So with this thought of becoming a young innovator, I conclude this amazing Navratri Tech Talks. I hope you celebrated Navratri beautifully. Thank you so much. Bye.